What's up, everybody? Brett here, and I am back today with my YouTube channel, Goodtalk Gaming, to talk about The Shadow and the Blade, the new Total War Warhammer 2 DLC. Guys, I'm super stoked. Sorry for no video. I like to get these out super fast, but if you're not American and you didn't know this, it was Thanksgiving holidays, and we spent the Thanksgiving holidays with my family in Louisiana. Had a great time, but we all got sick, and I didn't quite have enough videos to cover that whole period of time. Once I got sick, that was pretty much it. That was GG for me. So I'm back. I am happy to be going over the news. I've been following it pretty religiously, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have. Unfortunately, if you're new to my channel, guys, my channel is so small, I don't have early access to any of the new units. So what I'm forced to do, and I hope you guys enjoy this because it's kind of like my first time really going in depth and looking at the different mechanics and things like that. I try to follow the news, but not spoil myself completely. So some of these will be my first impressions. I wish my channel had 500 subscribers because that would allow me to get verified status with CA, the lady herself. But unfortunately, I am not. So, but maybe we'll get there before the next DLC, or certainly, hopefully, before Warhammer 3 comes out. And we're gonna watch the video together. I wanted to do that after we go ahead and read some of the new content. That way we'll recognize perhaps what we're looking at as we watch the video together. If you've seen all this before, I've got a few other things that I want to show. I got some tabs open here that we can go to and talk about things. But for now, I just want to talk about the basics. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is going to be a DLC. It's 2 Lords, but there's also a secret FLC that was released. And I'm pretty excited about her as well. And we'll talk about her because she's pretty sweet. I think she's probably the one that I'm the most excited to play with, even though she really doesn't have anything new coming with her. But anyway, all right. So the game is going to, or the DLC is going to drop December 12th. I've already pre-purchased it. You get a 10% discount. It's not bad. At least it's something. And for $8, guys, I know there's always people that complain about how much DLC costs. For this $8, I'm probably going to play another 30 hours of this game. Guys, when I go to the movies, I spend like 20 bucks getting a ticket, getting some popcorn, you know. That's kind of how I judge things. But, you know, if you don't have a lot of money, then obviously $8 might be an insurmountable amount of money. I could certainly understand that. But for me, it's an entertainment cost weighed against, you know, how much money, and I kind of do a little mental math. And for me, $8 for this is good value. So that's my opinion. About this content, I'm going to read this. I've got the FAQ up on another screen. We can go through that briefly. I think there's a little bit of fresh information, but I'm going to read this to you guys. So if you haven't read it yet, just sit back and relax and let me read it to you. All right. The Shadow and the Blade is the latest legendary Lord pack for Total Warhammer 2, introducing Malus Darkblade and Deathmaster Snikch, both with their own objectives, mechanics, units, and playstyles. 2 richly themed and unique legendary lords lead their own factions. Malus Darkblade leads Haggrafe. For the Dark Elves, a really powerful starting location as well. And Deathmaster Snikch leads Clan Eshin for the Skaven. I'm not sure where he starts, though. We'll have to see. I think there already is a Clan Eshin in the game that's in the southeastern portion of Lustria. I do believe. It's been a while since I got to play on like the Vortex especially. And especially the southern part. But I'm pretty sure that's where they are. So each legendary lord brings their own unique faction mechanics, quest chains, legendaries, items, skill trees, and campaign narrative. So, you know, they're not hollow. They've got all the accoutrements. And they add new powerful units and heroes, of course, lethal chariots. You know, we'll get into all this stuff. There's a new lore of magic for Clan Eshin, new regiments of renown, and they have both can of course be used in multiplayer as well as single player, as you would expect. All right, and then the kind of unique part about Malus, Tz'arkan, the Drinker of Worlds, or Tz'arkan, I think is how most people are pronouncing it, escaped from his eternal prison within the Chaos Waits, only to end up bound inseparably with the very being who freed him, the violent and cruel Malus Darkblade. Sensing the potential of this demonic entity, the Nightlord of Clan Eshin has dispatched his most trusted assassin, Deathmaster Snikch, to track down the demon and uncover its true power. So that's kind of your plot for this. And it should be very interesting because there are unique mechanics in terms of Malus's start. He's going to get the option, essentially, to abandon Haggrafe and become kind of a roving faction with a Black Ark, which is very cool. I would love to see more dual starts like that end up in the game. I think that's a great way to change up variety in your campaign. Unique faction mechanics. Possession. In order to counteract his possession by Tz'arkan, Malus must continuously drink an elixir that slows the demon's influence over his mind. While the elixir is costly to consume, his master Malekith will gladly provide him with a recipe, but only if he helps him in his bid to control the vortex. Despite the obvious danger in allowing the Drinker of Worlds to take control of his mind, there are situations in battle when Malus might benefit from letting the possession overcome him momentarily, greatly amplifying even his legendary viciousness. However, managing such an addiction to seemingly endless power confronts Malus with desperate challenges throughout his campaign as he seeks to wrestle back control of his very soul. Sweet. On a walk just like 10 minutes ago, I was explaining to my children Darth Vader and his character, and that kind of just made me think about that. He's like, he was a good guy who wasn't supposed to get trained in the Force, but then they trained him, and then he had the power, and he became a bad guy. Yeah, so. And then somehow was okay right before he died. Spoilers. Darkblade's Expedition. Malus starts the game in control of the mighty city of Haggrave, while also in command of an expedition force supported by a black ark on the other side of the world. If I remember right, it's in like the bottom southern, the southern tip near where those elves have that colony. In the opening stages of the campaign, the player is faced with a dilemma to either retain control or give up the city in return for a hefty sum. I think it's 20,000 gold. With an offer Darkblade will find difficult to refuse, you'll need to choose between the two distinct campaign starts, juggling the machinations. Alright. Haggrave has an incredible gold mine, though. That's a really hard thing to give up. Malus Darkblade is the embodiment of hate and ruthlessness, quality spurred by the evil brutality of the demon Tz'arkan, who I think is a demon of Snikch, if I remember correctly. As Malus struggles in a constant inner fight with the demon, it will attempt to influence him to perform acts of unthinkable slaughter and cruelty. As part of a new mission system, Malus can follow the demon's dark whispers in return for unique and powerful rewards in the form of items, followers, and other treasures. Alright. So hopefully the system works, because I'm still salty about my new Empire campaign, where I don't get a single dilemma about like which faction of the Empire to go with. And I never have access to those new units that are in the game. I've never played with a single one. It's crazy. Alright, Malus Darkblade. In battle, he's heavily armored, close-quarters combatant who excels at dealing armor-piercing damage thanks to his powerful Warp Sword of Cain. He rides a ferocious cold one called Spite, who in the lore I think is smarter but slightly smaller than others, which is pretty sweet. Into battle and instills fear upon his enemies. He's also green, I think, which sets him apart, making him a terrifying opponent on the battlefield. He has the unique yet costly ability to transform into the Daemon Tz'arkan, the Drinker of Worlds. This ability refills his health, augments his stats, and significantly alters his ability in battle. If I remember right, it also begins a drain, a health drain, which is kind of like the caveat to that. The Dark Elves have long been experts in bending beasts and animals to their will, and the High Beastmasters, a lord, are those that show even greater talent and aptitude. In particular, Beastmasters have considerable anti-large capabilities, making them a powerful tool when facing enemies that bring numerous large units into battle. Keep all this in mind when we go through the trailer. I'm pretty sure I was able to spot almost all of these particular units in the trailer by going kind of frame by frame, which I hope you don't mind. I'd love to do that with you guys. Some of this stuff has been shown, but not all of it, so I'm not too late to the party. The Master is a hero choice. Dark Elf Masters are the lesser nobles of Dark Elf society. Adept with both spear and shield, these heroes are capable of inflicting great damage to large targets, but are also capable of soaking up the most gruesome of blows thanks to their high melee defense and guardian ability, that's the important part, which protects nearby characters. So they're very similar to your High Elf Noble, however they have shields, whereas the other ones don't. And that's kind of, I think that's more the main difference. And it'll also, of course, depend greatly on their mount choices. Because you can put a noble up on an eagle, and that totally changes how they play. Scourge Runner chariots are new. They are quick and deadly. These war machines tear across the battlefield looking to hunt down new prey to kill or enslave. Equipped with powerful harpoons, they are a dedicated monster hunting unit capable of bringing down even the mightiest of beasts. And they're pretty sweet looking too. But another chariot unit nonetheless. They have poison. That's kind of their big deal. Poison on a chariot is quite powerful. And they have a Regiment of Renown version as well. The Bloodrack Medusa, something people have been crying for a long time. Very cool unit. Bound in pain-racked serpentine bodies, the blood-racked Medusa is a terrifying sight to behold on the battlefield. These writhing, horrid monsters are best positioned behind the front line to maximize their powerful ranged attacks to decimate foes. However, they can match their ranged skill with ruthless melee capabilities, granting them a useful hybrid role while also causing fear and terror to enemy units. So, interesting. I can't wait to see that in action. What kind of range they have. They're closer to Ushabti, you know, what the deal is. I'm thinking they'll be closer to... Man, what are those units called? Man, my mind just went blank. It's on the Tomb King's roster. The ones that spit acid. Sneaky Snake Boys. I forget their name. But I think they'll probably have attacks similar to that if I had to guess. Blood-racked Shrine. Propelled by dark magic, the Blood-racked Shrine grinds along the battlefield, inspiring allies and demoralizing foes with its passive Aura of Agony and Aura of Ardor abilities. From her elevated position, the Medusa riding it has a far greater vantage point from which to cast her deadly gaze. And then there's the Siren of Red Ruin. So now we're getting into the Regiments of Renown. So they're Fear Incarnate. This unique Medusa can call upon a damaging area of effect ability which tears apart enemy units in a radius around her, making for an extremely dangerous foe in close combat. So think infantry killer for sure. I doubt it'll have much damage that'll be dealt versus single entities or large targets. Ravages of Rakarth, the Scourge Runner Chariot Regiment of Renown. They're the most elite Scourge Runner unit, always thirsting for new quarry. This anti-large chariot is additionally armed with barbed nets. That sounds like a Skaven. Slow enemy units in order to increase its killing potential. So they have a net. Anytime you see a snare in this game, you need to sit up and take notice, because that's always going to be a useful tool that people will find a way to make good use of, especially in multiplayer. So the Crows of Cain, Harpy's Regiment of Renown. Very cool. They're always on the lookout for the next meal, and the Crows of Cain are the most ravenous. They provide regeneration abilities in exchange for damage dealt. So think of like the vampires. Whenever they're in melee combat, they regenerate, increasing their survivability and causing terror. That's also amazing. And enemy units as they guzzle down the entrails of their victims. And of course, they're going to be a rank 9 Harpy unit. So great stats, regeneration helping to keep them in the fight, stick to whatever the target they attack, and causing terror so you can eventually like terror bomb perhaps. If your opponents leave their backline undefended, this is going to be an awesome unit to get in there with. Alright, now we have a chance to look at Deathmaster Snikch. I love watching that animation. I could watch that all day. Oh my god. He just runs through those Blackguard. And people have already pointed out that he has a Warpstone blade in his tail. That's super sweet. Alright, Shadowy Dealings are his unique faction mechanics. So he and his agents are the most feared secret operatives in the world, capable of subterfuge actions that few others possess. Using any of their Eshin characters, Clan Eshin can perform numerous shadowy dealing actions against their rivals on the campaign map with 100% success. Crazy. Actions have a wide range of outcomes, including the simple theft of items or money, all the way to spying, inciting rebellions, and assassination. The Deathmaster himself is even able to burn down entire cities. So we'll see how good this is. I hesitate to try and overblow the impact of these type of things in the campaign. Total Warhammer 2 is definitely more focused on battles. The campaign has always felt like secondary, and things like this help for sure. But when trade is in such a weird, bad spot, and the mechanics themselves aren't always as impactful as they first might seem. So, Greater Clan Contracts. Skavendom's unseen leaders are forever seeking to disrupt and backstab each other on the Council of 13. When a problem arises that needs serious attention, the Greater Clans approach Clan Eshin to do their dirty work. These clan contracts allow Clan Eshin to receive money, food, and increased reputation with the issuing clans, thus granting bonuses and reducing the cost of the Greater Clan specialized units. That's also pretty sweet. Nice, flavorful additions. So the legendary lord himself. With unmatched stealth abilities and immense dueling prowess, Deathmaster Snikch excels at fighting other characters, especially when they are vulnerable and have already taken damage. Armed with his deadly Weeping Blades, which reduces armor by half. And it says that in the next sentence. He also has the Vanguard deployment and stalk abilities, further cementing his role as the foremost master assassin of the Skaven. And I've seen people who have early access play with him already. He is quite deadly in combination with an actual assassin. They have debuffs and buffs that work very well together. And if you let them and they get on the right target, they'll nuke anything. I can't imagine a single Lord standing up to this kind of duo. And it only remains to be seen what their cost is and whether or not you can afford, let's say, Snikch plus an assassin for the same price as, let's say, someone like a Kolek kitted out, right? And in that instance, that 2v1, it certainly swings in your favor. And that's kind of how I think cost effectiveness of these lords will really matter once we get to see them used in multiplayer. Quick swig of water there so my throat doesn't burn out. Once again, I had a cold. My whole family had a cold while we were visiting my family, and it was rough. And I'm just starting to bounce back. The Eshin Sorcerer. So here we go. The new lore of magic. Masters in the art of silent death, Eshin sorcerers use the lore of stealth to support their allies from the rear of the battlefield. This new magic lore has a focus on sneakiness and controlling the battlefield, meaning they can dictate the tempo and flow of the battle to their advantage. They have a spell. I don't remember what it's called, guys. Once again, no early access, but it is one of the coolest looking spells in the game. It's like a vortex dome, and it damages over time, and I think it has some other effects, some slowing effects as well. But I look to see that in the multiplayer for quite some time to come. It's a pretty awesome ability. So the Triads. Only the most devout apprentice assassins ascend to the rank of Triad. And this makes me think of every Jackie Chan movie I've ever watched. Well drilled, and I know that's Chinese versus Japanese, I get it. But he's always fighting some sort of like criminal organization. Like Yakuza. He either goes to Japan and fights the Yakuza, or he fights the Triad in China. Like every movie. Well drilled and deadly, these warriors are a versatile alternative to their clan rat and storm vermin brethren, and are best utilized behind the front ranks, excelling at exploiting gaps and weaknesses in the enemy lines. Whilst their armor isn't the strongest, they make up for it with their vanguard deployment and stalk abilities, capabilities which enhance their sneakiness on the battlefield. So I think these are the guys who are anti-large. I want to say they have halberds, if I remember correctly. So there's definitely going to be matchups where having invisible vanguard deployable halberd units is quite strong, but they don't have charge defense. So they're going to get run over by cavalry. So you want to let like some slaves take the charge, and then you charge in with these guys and finish off whatever cav unit or monster hits you. Poison wind mortars. These things looked absolutely terrifying in the multiplayer battles that I watched. These mobile rat portable mortars are packed with a payload of poison wind globes, which can be fired at a much greater distance than their globadier equivalents. Capable of causing the enemy damage over time as they choke on the deadly warpstone gas, this unit excels at damaging a wide swath of the enemy at once. Great versus blobs. Could be very good against factions like, I think of High Elves, Bretonnian archers, any kind of archer blob that might happen, Wood Elves. Anything that you can outrange that isn't heavy armor piercing, so they can't counter skirmish you easily, you could just annihilate them with these poison wind mortars. And of course, anytime any infantry gathers together in one spot, they're going to be quite a valuable pick. Drilling into the ground and their enemies alike, the warp grinder weapon teams rely upon powerful active abilities that create devastating effects on the battlefield. Once they've tied down their enemies with tremor effects, their drills can pierce the toughness of armors, provided the team can get within range. This is a weird one. The unit can also destroy settlement walls, great for campaign, rending stone asunder with their scant regard for friend or foe. They're a weird one. They remain to be seen. They're more of a battlefield control unit and a support unit than they are someone that's going to deal direct damage. But they'll find their place. I don't know if they'll make it in the meta when there's so many other options for the Skaven. The Skaven have probably the most ranged options in the game. Avalanche Mortar. This is the one that I think everyone was taking in the multiplayer. These rare and infernal devices can fire special airburst globes. So think of the Ushabti Regiment of Renown that kind of explodes before it hits the ground. From great distances that explode in midair and inflict devastating armor-piercing damage upon all units unfortunate enough to be caught in their line of fire. I wonder what they cost. We have Viskrin's Death Squad. It's a Death Runner Regiment of Renown. And they're, if I remember right, they have a really cool kind of orangey color scheme. And they're elite among their rank and excel at acts of espionage. Lightly armored but highly mobile, this unit is capable of outputting great amounts of armor-piercing damage with their trusty weeping blades, as well as making use of their elite combat agility in order to become even harder for the enemy to hit in return. So I think they just have higher physical resistance, and I think they have increased melee defense and something else, like melee defense, weapon strength, something to that effect. They're just a souped up version of Death Runners, just a better combat version. And then we have Ishka's Triads. They follow the teachings of Ishka Fastclaw, who was once the Nightlord of Clan Eshin, exhibiting deadly anti-large capabilities. Okay. Maybe this is the one I was thinking of, and the standard Triads don't have anti-large. They have the ability to summon a decoy of themselves upon the battlefield, making them ideal for deceiving the enemy while both attacking and retreating. So, very cool. Very Lithanar type ability. And that's going to be it for that, guys. Let's take a second and watch the trailer together. And as I'm sure that most of you have seen it already, we can go kind of a little bit frame by frame and see what we can see. Yeah, hopefully you guys don't mind. Let's full screen that. And it's not too loud. Look how awesome that map is, right off the bat, though. It's on a black arc. You can see the enormous sails. Okay, so we see the weapons teams there. They look like they got storm vermin by them. Looks like they're drilling a hole in the wall. They blasted it open. There's the mortars, right? And the Skaven actually load it. So one guy carries it on his back in a barrel, and then the other dude carries the actual mortar itself and shoots it. It's pretty sweet. And you see they had the two different types. The one with the purple was the Regiment of Renown. The one with the green is the standard one. And I think in the background here, we see the Blood Rack Medusa. It's very difficult to see. This frame does not last very long. And we also see a standard Medusa, her outline here. Yeah, not much to say about that. But this is probably the clearest we're going to get of this until they actually release it. Oh no, wait, a little bit better. Ah, that was about it. Okay, here we have the two lords themselves fighting. But we also, it looks like we have a chariot in the background. Let it play for a second. Look how sweet the Medusa looks. This might be the Regiment of Renown. I don't think that's her tail. It could be. If her tail is like more snakes, that's intense. Or she could be using her special ability that explodes in an AoE around her. That would make sense to me. And maybe there's some sort of cool snake animations that come with it. Alright, those look like probably the Triads. Or Death Runners. And we get our first look at Tz'arkan. And that's that elixir that he has to take in order to stave off the demon's control. Look how sick that is. Okay, so this is our first good look at what the... well, we get two looks here. So this is the Regiment of Renown for the Triads with their halberds. I'm pretty much positive here. They also have a slightly different color scheme. They have this kind of like blue crackling magic look. Warpstone probably. And then this is the Master, the Noble, with his shield and spear. You can tell it's him. He doesn't have a helmet. That's how I kind of... He has a helmet, and no helmet and a spear. So here are the two different Medusas. The standard one is kind of green looking, I think. And the Regiment of Renown has this like bloody look, which I think is kind of in the name. Yep, once again, Master, Triads.
Hate is our gift to one another.
Hate is our gift. Malus. I was hoping we would get an actual demon. The chariots are the ones that are just running by now.
Hate.
The Scourge Runner chariots. So cool. Alright, guys. That was a fun little look. Let's also check this out. We can kind of full screen these, I'm sure. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so we see Spite. Very Jurassic Park looking cold one. Got the cool green color scheme. We see the Triads. I think these are the standard ones. I'm pretty sure, man, it's so hard to see. There's no way to like super zoom in here. We can't enhance like CSI. But these are the terror-causing Regiment of Renown Harpies. They kind of have this like red glowing effect. Really scary looking. And Malus himself looks awesome. I mean, look how sweet that sword is. He's one of the biggest characters in the lore. Not in terms of power, but in terms of just sheer representation in written media. And I'm sure there are a lot of fans who are excited to see him finally realized in game. All right. We've got the mortar teams here, the standard mortar teams. Is that them? No, these are just the grinders, right? Okay, and Snikch, of course. I saw this device on the back and it looks like the mortar, but it's not. It's some sort of like cool ventilation thing. I think they just reused assets, but whatever. It's all good. But it looks great. Standard Medusa, I'm fairly certain. And this is the caster. Oh, that's awesome. He's got a bell on the end of his tail. Oh, that's so sick for the new Clan Eshin lore of magic. And he's even got a blade. Like, he's not just like some punk sorcerer. Looking awesome. Anything else to be gleaned from this? I see the Globadier launchers in the back, the mortar teams. Anything else? I don't think so. And then this is a pretty big screenshot as well. So we can see, here we go. That is the new... It's gonna, man, it looks so similar to what's already in game. They just kind of stuck a Medusa on top, which I think is correct. That's what it is in the lore. The Blood Rack Medusa chariot. It's, yeah, pretty much identical, but it's got a Medusa on top. Remains to be seen how competitive this is. We don't know exactly what the auras are yet. And this is the Assassin tier Lord choice. He's got these awesome claws, and guys, the animations are so sweet. They like sit down and do ninjutsu moves. If any of you guys ever watched Naruto, it's not really my thing, but I had a lot of friends who loved it, and they would always do like the little hand signs and stuff. That's what they like sit down on the ground and do it. Kind of sweet. We see the Scourge Runner chariot, nice and big in the 4, and we also see another master here. Medusa, pretty sure that's the Regiment of Renown variant. Anything else? Almost looks like this Hell Pit Abomination has a mortar on his back. Almost. I know it's probably hard to see depending on what you're watching this on, but it almost looks like he has a mortar there. That would be too cool. And yeah. So, okay. So now we're good to go to the FAQ, which I was kind of briefly skimming to see if they had any additional information. And I don't think so. Just to kind of assure people to answer the biggest questions, yes, you'll be able to play them in both the Vortex and the main campaign. The new units, we've already gone over those. The mechanics, possession, and his expedition, and Tz'arkan's Whispers, we talked about that. People were asking for changes to Transformation of Khadaan. You know, I think it's fine. It's a very good spell, but I think it's fine. People abuse the hell out of it, and where there's a game with this many mechanics, people are always going to find ways to cheese. I think sometimes you got to just leave stuff the way it is for fun factor, and then everyone will just recognize that whoever spams this spell in literally every match, those people are just kind of lame. It's good. I use it sometimes too, but it's not my entire game plan isn't to spam out as many manticores as I can. I very rarely play that way. What new mechanic will Deathmaster Snikch? Okay, Shadowy Dealings, we did that. And here we go. So this is the new info. It's going to be the Bretonnian Lord, Réponse de Lyonnaise, I think is how you say that. Or Lyonnaise, probably better way to say that. When I go back home to Louisiana, everyone kind of speaks in like a Cajun accent, and I start saying things like them. It takes me a few days to lose my accent. And anything that's remotely French sounding, I'll mess it up. I'll mess it up in the worst way. All right, and that's pretty much all that info. So I was looking up a picture that I could show you guys of what Réponse looks like. She's basically Joan of Arc from the lore, and I think her model looks amazing. Now, if we were to look at her tabletop model, she, in addition to having her sword, and she uses it like a great sword in this. She's basically a questing knight. In addition to that, she also has a banner, which I don't think they're representing on her model in any way, but it'd be super cool if they did. She's honestly a beautiful looking model. Her blue horse is very cool. She has great ability. She has this AoE. Radiant Light ability. She has some powerful activatable buffs that increase her armor piercing and her weapon strength. And she also comes with her own like bodyguard paladin who can ride a griffin, which is unique. And he's pretty cool as well. And I've seen those in multiplayer, and those have been great. So something else I kind of wanted to do, you can see all of what I've been watching recently. Lots of Magic, some Dota, some MMA stuff. It's kind of my deal. I love Super Beard Bros. If you're curious what I watch on YouTube, and Turin, look, Turin there. I haven't seen his new video yet. Anyway, I don't like to show other people's videos, but because I don't have early access and because this is straight from Total War itself and not some other YouTubers that makes a living off their videos, I don't feel too bad showing this. I'm not playing any of the audio. I just want to go through and show you guys some of the new things that they talk about. And this is going to be our best way to get a look at some of these models. So Malus, like in-game. So there's Malus and Spite. So the Medusa's tail is a bunch of snakes. That's awesome. So yeah, just hang out with me for a sec. We'll look at this stuff. Go ahead and Malus on foot running towards a lord. His cloak looks awesome. There's like some Cold One scales in the top part. He's a little emo. Let's go ahead and just full screen this bad boy. He's a little emo looking, but that's okay. And in those types of fights, you can see a few new animations. In those moments, you can't really see anything. We just got to get to his actual like gameplay. Okay. So they show some of the new like hand-drawn stuff. I don't know if it's hand-drawn, but the special kind of art that they use only for the Vortex campaign, where we get to see, you know, what maybe the opening stages of that will look like. Kind of like messed it up, but we can just take a look for a second. They're not going to want to spoil any of the endings, obviously. So this is part of his possession mechanic, and these are what you have to do in order to help out Malekith, so that he'll give you the elixir, so that, you know, you can stave off being controlled by Tz'arkan. And that's the mechanics that are being shown here. Of course, you have the option to let him possess you. I love the UI, it's different. And they showed where his starting position is, right next to Malekith. If you wanted to go to war with him in the beginning, that would certainly mess things up. I wonder how it affects your quests. But he gets buffs and debuffs depending on how possessed he is. And you'll see here, we can actually pause it. So, construction cost goes down. When you have very low possession, you're better at maintaining an empire, but you're a little bit worse in combat. But when you are possessed, you get much better combat abilities. Yeah, when you're under full control, your empire is very stabilized. You'll have great public order. Construction costs will be down. You can drink your elixir that you get from Malekith. And there you go. That's what you get for full control. You get to access another new right, which summons a full stack, I think, of like beasts. It's super expensive. They'll go over that in just a second. There we go, to the rights. Rights of the War Master. So Malus does not need Tz'arkan to work dark magic, and can use this right to summon the beasts that dwell within Druchii territory to follow him into battle. An army of Hydra, Black Dragon, Cold One Knights, Medusae, Charybdis, Manticore, and Scourge Runner chariot units will spawn at your faction's capital. Needless to say, that is incredibly expensive, and 12,000 gold. Now, the empires that you can get up to with the Dark Elves are very, very lucrative. You start stacking slaves, especially if you control Nagaroth. But you will have to go to war with Malekith, which is like, I don't know how that's really going to affect anything. I would just try to confederate everyone else. And then when the time comes that I feel like I've gotten as much flavor as I want out of dealing with Malekith, I would then try and convert him to my cause. So now they're talking about the different start positions. And this is the Black Ark. Let's go ahead and go over this. So, and here it is. I was trying to say where it was in the south. It's just literally all the way south in the southeast corner where those High Elves are. You could start basically your campaign way down here or way in the top north. So give up Haggrafe. You get a New Frontier bonus, which gives you plus 50 growth to all provinces for 5 turns. That's super cool. And 20,000 treasury. Or exile this filth. Everything under control. Keep Haggrafe. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one I'll do, but it's super interesting. You could end up... I hate that this is probably only in the Vortex campaign, because I would love to like set up in the old world with a Dark Elf Lord and have that option of fighting totally new enemies. Everything under control, you get public order, and you have a chance for your lords to gain loyalty. So this is going to be our best look at his campaign tree. Sea Dragon Cloak. I'm not seeing anything super new here. He's got Spite. That's his only mount option. And then this is going to be his unique line here. The Waking. Pain Tolerance. Lying in Wait. Let's see if they go over any of it. He gets Avatar of Terror. Let's see if... Come on, hover over something. Okay. Minus 20% cooldown to the Blood Price and the Demon's Curse. I actually don't know what those are. This is just straight up missile resistance and melee defense. That's very good. And then Lying in Wait is going to be, he gets Stalk. That's sweet. Especially when he's on his mount, he'll be very fast and he'll be able to actually get behind people and make some cool maneuvers. The Slumber, 20% cooldown to Bloodstorm and to Reaper of Souls. I feel like that's an ability or abilities that he has access to only while Tz'arkan. And then he gets Terror, and enemy leadership goes -7. Oh my god, that's powerful. That's super strong. And then Casualty of Punishment and Ward Save while he's transformed. Also extremely powerful. And then Cold Heart, and then Contempt and Hatred, Weapon Strength plus 20%. When fighting, it's anything and everything. With Hate, all things are possible. Wow. 20% Weapon Strength. At rank 15, you can get that. And this all looks new. Is this straight up new? Is that a new tree? Tech tree for the Dark Elves? I don't know if they completely reworked that. That didn't look very familiar to me. But it's also been a little while since I got to play as the Dark Elves. So yeah, you've got a lot of choices. You've got Helibroni, Malekith, you've got Lokir, and you've got Mama Marathi for the Dark Elves. You got lots of choices now, and they're all relatively close to one another. I don't know about you guys, but I love to confederate. Confederating all the different lords and getting them under my control is a big deal. But look how, I mean, look at this. Minus 60% upkeep for all units in the local province. You could keep an enormous garrison there. And I'm sure it just goes up. I don't know if it'll show the whole thing. Okay, so that's a fully upgraded the Dark Crag. 1,200 income. Look at all the iron and marble. Huge. Permanent upkeep reduction for your entire, basically every cold one unit. And then recruit rank goes up as well. Wow. And the upkeep is awesome. It allows you to keep a very powerful army stationed there for very little cost. And then especially if you go down the blue line and you get, you know, upkeep reduction. Oh, and this is their first showing of the High Beastmaster. So he's got buffs specifically for, and I'll pause it just for a second as he goes over each one. Each monster unit. So it really encourages you to play with monster units in their army. And we get Beast Tamer here, which gives charge bonuses for beasts. And I saw that Malus also has that. And his unique ability is Whiplash. So there's the Regiment of Renowned Medusa. There's the regular Medusa. Those are the special Harpies. Blade Winds. Oh, did you see that Sonic Blast? Wow. Does she do that every time she attacks from range? That's pretty sweet. So here's a bit about his quest battle, the Warp Sword of Cain. I kind of don't like seeing quest battles ahead of time. But we've got the Crows of Cain. We've got some Medusas. Looks like they also have the shrine there. But you got to fight Kolek. How awesome is that for a quest battle? Kolek just comes storming out of this Chaos Warp Portal with his Chaos Host. Man, bringing out Kolek. Sick. And there's Tz'arkan. He's transforms. He's got the white hair. That's how you know. Those are the new chariots. And, okay, so I lied in the beginning. I forgot how much everyone else had access, but I did. Everyone else has already shown that, but I don't know if you're allowed to play as them yet. They're not quite done. So I think these are the Regiment of Renown. They have more bling. They look pretty sexy. Feel free to pause. I'm going to pause briefly just to give you guys an easier time to pause if you'd like. Of course, you can always go to Total War and watch this video there. I just hope you're enjoying spending a little bit of time with me, watching this with me. I think it's pretty sweet. So he glows purple. I mean, if you're into purple, this is your lord. Alright, guys. That's going to be it for all of that. I'll be happy to make some more videos whenever we get some more information. Unfortunately, right now, that's all we have. I don't have early access, as I've said. Maybe for the next one, guys. But I hope you enjoyed taking a first look at this stuff with me. And in the future, I will be a little faster about it. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you in the next one. And if you would consider subscribing, if you made it this far and you enjoyed this video, every subscription helps. I'm a growing YouTube channel. I have fun doing this. I don't get paid. I don't get any perks. I just do it to hang out with guys and have a good time. So, all right, guys. Take care, and see you later.